We are now going to enter a grammar lesson, one which I personally have learned to love to the point that whatever the question is that could be asked about it, I feel like I could find my way out to determine an answer to the question. This is a topic that I've learned to love since I was in high school. Eventually, when I was in college, I found the opportunity to have it mastered all the more, especially when I was in my English one subject. Then continuous exposure to grammar lessons made me so well acquainted to this topic. I'm referring to the topic on the basic sentence patterns. I hope you're fine that I'm writing in cursive. Just to check. Is it clear from your end? Can you clearly see the words basic sentence patterns? Is it clear enough? Also, I'll be writing in cursive because that's kind of my comfort. I write in cursive. I just hope that my handwriting is not going to be a problem to you. We begin with understanding first why it's called the basic sentence patterns, why it has to begin with that, not just call it sentence patterns. These basic sentence patterns come out to be the simplest structure that we could have for a sentence. And from it, we could make our sentences longer by adding some other elements. But at least, whatever components are that could be found in these sentence patterns, they are again part of the basic units, the most fundamental units that should be found in a sentence. Among many, the basic sentence patterns list begins with the SIV. There are two important components in this sentence pattern. You have an S and an IV. The S represents the subject. If we try to go back to our discussions or our orientations in grammar before, in a sentence, there needs to be a topic which serves to be the center of the idea that your sentence tries to convey. That center, that topic, whatever it is that's being talked about in your sentence, that's what we refer to as the subject. Common misconceptions. What are the common misconceptions regarding subjects in a sentence? If students see a noun to appear first in a sentence, right away they assume that that is the subject. In some cases, that may be true, but that's not an absolute rule. There's not even necessarily a rule on where you should find the subject. It's just that by typical practice or by common practice, we place the subject almost at the first part of the sentence. But not every word that begins a sentence is a subject. Not even every noun that you see to appear first in a sentence comes out as the subject. IV, what do we mean by an IV? An IV represents your intransitive verb. An intransitive verb is a verb that does not, sorry. An intransitive verb is a verb that does not require, does not require a receiver. Is it all right if I use red? If I use red, is it still clear? It's not. I'll erase it. Claire has complained. It's not all right to use red. An intransitive verb does not require a receiver. Therefore, because of this verb, we could have short sentences that don't need to have embellishments, don't need to have plenty of modifiers. A sentence that goes, she died, is one that falls under this SIV sentence pattern. Why? If we are to classify its parts, the subject is she, the verb is died. Can we see any receiver in this sentence? A receiver of the verb? There's none, which means that your verb is an intransitive verb. With that, our sentence pattern is SIV. Even if you try to make it a bit longer, is it all right to erase this? Can I erase this part? I'll erase. Even if you try to make it a bit longer, and I have a sentence that goes, I live in the province. Even if you have a sentence that goes this long, no, it's not really long, there are just only two important components of this sentence for you to determine its sentence pattern. The subject is I, the verb is live. Sir, how do you call them in the province? In the province is what we refer to as a prepositional phrase. And mind you, people, prepositional phrases can be omitted from a sentence. Prepositional phrases are naturally modifying phrases. They could either be adjectives or adverbs. At any rate, they modify. And a sentence may live without any modifier at all. So to say, your sentence can be ended only with live, I live, period. In that case, your verb comes out as an intransitive verb. And so the sentence pattern is SIV. Let's have another one, perhaps a bit longer than this. I'll erase it. Is it all right to erase this? A bit longer perhaps than that one. I'll use blue, sorry. I start. There. The boys left because of the heavy rain. In this sentence, again, there are just two important components that you need to identify for you to call it a sentence belonging to an SIV sentence pattern. What are these two components? We begin with the subject. What do you think is the subject in this sentence? I'd like to call Jokon. Jokon. What's the subject?
Can you read it again, sir?
Again?
Can you read it again?
The sentence is on the board. But my question is, what is the subject of the sentence?
I can't really see it, sir, but can you read it, sir?
Again, sorry.
Can you read it again?
Wait, can't you see the sentence on the board?
It's not that clear, sir.
It's not that clear. Okay, I'll make it a bit bigger. I would want that you provide the answer to me, and hopefully you could also tell me whether the sentences remain clear or not. What about now? Is the sentence clear enough? Okay,
Yes, sir.
Jukon. Now tell us, Jukon, what is the subject in this sentence?
The boy.
Again?
The boys.
Boys, correct. Our subject is boys. So we'll classify that with an S. Now, what is the verb in this sentence? Rainiel.
Left.
Again. Louder, please, louder.
Left.
Left, correct. That's our verb. Sir, what is then the role of because of the heavy rain? This part of your sentence all make up what you call a prepositional phrase. And take note, your sentence may live even if it doesn't have a prepositional phrase. In fact, you can have your sentence ended here and have one that reads, the boys left, period. It's just that for additional information purposes, there is a prepositional phrase that would tell us of the reason. The presence of the prepositional phrase provides an extra information for the reason of leaving. Yet again, the two important components are the subject and the verb. Since this verb does not have any receiver, we can call it an intransitive verb. And so the sentence pattern is SIV. Questions regarding the SIV sentence pattern? Any question? Can I start erasing this? Okay.
I still don't get the SIV, sir.
Again, sorry.
I'm still confused with that part.
Which part is the confusing part for the SIV?
The meaning of intransitive verb.
An intransitive verb, by the definition of an intransitive verb, an intransitive verb by definition is a verb that does not have any receiver. Perhaps later on, Shania, by the time we meet the transitive verb, you'd be able to see the clear difference between an intransitive verb and a transitive verb. You could perhaps see the comparison later on. What makes a verb transitive? What makes a verb intransitive? For the meantime, to answer your confusion, an intransitive verb is a verb that you put in a sentence such that if your sentence ends with that verb, your sentence seems complete. For example, he cried. Can we end the sentence with the verb cried? We can. If you say, she shouted. Oh no, yeah, she shouted. Is it all right to end the sentence with the word shouted?
Yes.
Which means that the verb does not need a Receiver, as you've managed to end the sentence there. I came. What if someone asks, what did you do last night? I came to your office. If you end the sentence at came, like you give a statement that goes, I came, is it all right to have a sentence of that sort? Does that make a complete sentence already if you end it at came? I came, period. Shania, is that a complete sentence already?
I don't think so.
You listen to the sentence. I came, period. Complete or incomplete?
It's incomplete for me, sir.
Again,
It's incomplete for me
what makes it incomplete though?
because I came to where.
Again,
It's like I just said I came, but I didn't say to where.
the answer to questions where, why, when, these are modifiers. Like if you say, I came to your house is a question, is an answer to the question where. I came last night. Last night is an answer to the question when. I came because you needed me. Because you needed me is is an answer to the question why. I came by riding on a bus, in a bus. That's an answer to the question how. And all of these are plainly modifiers to came. And what did I say earlier about modifiers? Do we need modifiers in our sentences all the time? Grade 9, do we need modifiers in our sentence all the time? Or let me restructure the sentence. For a sentence to exist, must there be a modifier? Yes, no?
No.
No, correct.
No.
Modifiers provide additional information. Therefore, your sentences don't require additional information all the time. So let me go back, Shania, to the statement that goes, I came. Complete, incomplete.
Complete.
What about this one, Shania? She fell. She fell. Complete, incomplete.
Complete.
It's already a complete one. Therefore, on their own, those verbs are intransitive verbs. The key again for the meantime, because we have not met a sentence pattern with a transitive verb yet, is if you try to end the sentence there, and if it already holds a complete thought, and when we say complete, modifiers are not necessary to be there, that means your verb is an intransitive verb. Does that answer something to your question, Shania?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Anybody else has a confusion? Anyone else has a question? While we are still in the intransitive verb or the SIV sentence pattern. If there's none, I'll proceed to the second sentence pattern. We call it the SLVC. We already know what the letter S stands for. We know what it is, and it is the subject, the one being talked about in the sentence. So we can put that aside for now. We go to the second component, the LV, which is known as the linking verb. A linking verb could be your be verb. It could also be a verb of sense. A verb can function only as a linking verb if it is meant to connect a subject and a complement. So again, your options of linking verbs, you have be verbs, that will be your is, are, was, were, am. You could even include will, or shall as modals. You also have verbs of sense like appear, become, tastes, seems, look. These could function as linking verbs only when they bridge a subject and a complement. This complement is our third component in this sentence pattern. This is the complement. It's with an E, spelled with an E, people, not with an I. It's not a complement, it's a complement. Sometimes you'll see this sentence pattern classified as SLVSC. There are others who refer to the C as a subjective complement, but they're just the same. Your complement could be of two types. This complement could be a noun or a pronoun or a nominative complement. Can it still be seen? Nominative, is it still clear? It could also be an adjective complement. Before I forget, apart from calling it an SC, there are even others who refer to the C as a PN or a PA. They call it a PN if it's a predicate nominative. They call it a PA if it's a predicate adjective. But let's just try to use the term used in our module, and that is SLVC. Well, at least you're aware that the complement could be a predicate nominative or a predicate adjective. When we say it's a predicate nominative, our complement could either be a noun or a pronoun. Let's try to have examples now. Can I erase this? Can I erase all of this now? Okay, Krisha is requesting that I don't erase it yet. Go, go, go. I'm giving you time, don't worry. That's why I want to do it on a whiteboard. I cannot do something like this in the chat box of Zoom. Again, to explain this diagram that you could see in the whiteboard, our linking verb is that's the LV. Our C is the complement. Your complement could be of two types. It could be a nominative complement or an adjective complement. If what you have is a nominative complement, there are others who call it a predicate nominative. If what you have is a complement that is an adjective, they call it a predicate adjective. Predicate nominatives can be nouns or pronouns. More importantly, before I erase the writings on the board, one thing that you should consider with the SLVC sentence pattern is your subject. I've always used these arrows. Your subject refers to the complement, and the complement refers back to your subject. They have that relationship to the point that if you interchange their positions in the sentence, the meaning of the sentence remains the same. Again, the subject refers to the complement in the same way the complement refers back to the subject, to the point that you could interchange their positions. Interchanging their positions would not change the meaning of the sentence at all. Let's keep that in mind. Can I now erase the writings on the board? Okay? If you feel like taking a picture of it, it's fine. I'll just include myself as a possible thumbnail. I'm erasing it now. Look at the verb that I said. I'm erasing. Present progressive because I'm continuously doing it now. Right after erasing it, I will say, I have erased the writings on the board because I've completed the act of erasing the writings. That's so grammar. So I'll now give you a sentence that follows the SLVC sentence pattern. And to prove whether the subject can indeed have an interchange of position with a complement, I'll use a blanket. Let's start with simple sentences. I hope the sentence is big enough and that it's clear in your respective frames. Okay. My name is Sim. What is the subject in the sentence, Ralph?
Name, sir.
It's the word name, correct? That's our letter S. What is the verb, Jed?
Is.
Is, correct. What is the function of the name Sim? What is its function in this sentence? I'd like to ask Ivry.
It functions as a predicate nominative.
It's a predicate nominative. And if you don't mind, let's use once again the label found in your module. It is our complement. And since you have a complement, your verb is a linking verb. Sentence pattern, SLVC. Let's try to further analyze the sentence. Can the name be Sim? Yes or no? You try to use the, if it's a yes, you do this emoji. Can the name be Sim? Can that name be Sim in the sentence? Grade 9? Only Shania said yes. Erwin said yes, so did Krisha, so did Claire. Can Sim be that name? Yes or no? Jed said yes, Shania said yes. Those who said yes, you got it right. The name is Sim, and Sim is that name. Therefore, they indeed refer to each other. To the point that if you restructure this, you can have a sentence that goes, Sim is my name. My name is Sim, sentence 1. Sim is my name, sentence 2. Do they have different meanings? Do the two sentences differ in meanings? They don't. That's what we mean with the subject and the complement possibly interchanging in their locations in the sentence, and the meaning of the sentence is not distorted at all. Earlier, Avril made mention of a predicate nominative, a specific category that she has used to classify our complement. And that term is correct. Why? Sim is a noun. Nouns, pronouns, they are for predicate nominatives if used as a complement, not an adjective. Can I erase this one now? Okay. Let's try to have a pronoun as a predicate nominative or as a complement. The doctor is she. Perhaps before it sounded better in your ears when instead of she, it's replaced with her. The doctor is her. But that's actually grammatically incorrect. The more grammatically acceptable way of stating it is by using she and not her. In this statement, our subject is doctor. Our verb is. And our complement is she. And since we have a complement, our verb is a linking verb. Sentence pattern SLVC. And to be more specific, our complement is a predicate nominative because it is a pronoun. And again, let's try to interchange the position of these two words. And let's see if the change of the meaning of the sentence is there. Sentence 1, the doctor is she. Sentence 2, she is the doctor. Do they differ in meanings? They don't. True enough, the subject refers to our complement. In the same way, our complement refers to the subject. That's what we mean with an SLVC sentence. We are still with predicate nominatives. I'll still give you one with a predicate adjective. Can we erase this? Is it all right to erase this one? Erasing. Okay. With a predicate adjective now. Subject in the sentence is friend. Verb is. And then we have a word that we could use to describe this friend stated or mentioned in the sentence. That word is sad. What is the function of sad? Let's try to evaluate or examine the sentence even further. Can that friend of mine be the one who is sad? Yes or no? Okay. Can the one who is sad be that friend of mine? So true enough, this is still a complement. And since we have a complement, this verb becomes a linking verb. Sentence pattern SLVC. And to be specific, this one is an adjective. So we don't call it a PN, but a PA, a predicate adjective. I'll try to have a longer sentence. Can I erase this? I'll try to erase this now. The structure that I've given you earlier, those three sentences were quite too basic. Let's try to have one a bit longer than those sentences. Can you see what word this is? Okay. I'd like to request someone to read the sentence that we have here on the board. Clarice, can you do the honors for us?
Knowing the reason of your absence
Yes.
is the main concern
Yes.
of our meeting.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Clarice. I know my cursive handwriting is quite a problem on this one. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. So this one is definitely different compared to the sentences that we had earlier. It's not as simple as he is my friend. I am his friend. No. Now we have here a sentence of a different form. And when I say different, it's because its subject is not the usual one that we use in our typical sentences. Now, first thing that we need to do is to identify the parts, significant parts of the sentence, which we shall include in identifying the sentence pattern. Give me the subject of the sentence. What is our complete subject here? Claire.
The reason of your absence.
Again.
The reason of your absence.
Is it just the reason of your absence? Try to carefully examine. What is the sentence all about? Is it about the reason? Or something is yet to be done regarding that reason?
Knowing the reason of your absence.
Correct. Take note, this sentence has not known any reason yet of the person's absence. There is going to be a discussion of trying to know what the reason is for the absence made by the person. So this is our subject. What is the verb in this sentence, Erwin?
Is.
Is, correct. Sorry. What is the complement of this sentence, Avril?
The main concern of our meeting.
Correct. All of these become part of our complement. Sir, you're underlining subjects and complements which are composed of more than a word. Yes, because the subject of a sentence is not limited to only one word. The same applies to a complement. A complement could be a noun, and a noun is not limited to just a single word. Nouns could be in phrase forms. Nouns could be in clauses. It's important that we do not limit ourselves to just the single noun that we are commonly acquainted with, because there are several other forms of nouns that are around in grammar. We have a subject, a verb, and a complement. If we have a complement, that means that our verb is a linking verb. Sentence pattern, S, L, V, C. Can we even interchange their positions? This is sentence 1. Sentence 1 reads, knowing the reason of your absence is the main concern of our meeting. So that's sentence 1. Sentence 2, the main concern of our meeting is knowing the reason of your absence. Do they differ in meanings? They don't. They will not differ in meanings at all, because the subject refers to the complement. In the same way, the complement refers to your subject. Questions regarding the SLVC sentence pattern?
Excuse me, sir.
Go.
Is it possible for the subject to be at the end of the sentence?
Is it possible for a subject to be placed at the end of a sentence? That's possible, given that your sentence is in the inverted order. But in this case, Shania, the subject remains to be knowing the reason of your absence. if you have a sentence with these words arranged in this manner. Take note, in this sentence, the main concern in this structure, the main concern of our meeting is not the subject, it is the complement. If you interchange the placement of the two, that makes the main concern of our meeting is knowing the reason of the subject of your absence. That makes this part the subject now. So Shania, does that answer your question?
Kind of. I'm still confused a bit.
Let me give you a sentence, Shania. Can I erase this? Can I erase this? Is it all right to erase this? Okay. The question of Shania is, can a subject be placed at the end of a sentence? Yes, it can be. Very simple example. There is a dog. Dog is the subject. So Shania, does this answer your question?
Yes, sir. So, meaning the subject can be placed on the last part of the sentence, but since we're talking about sentence pattern, the subject the subject should be the first
For
part.
first entry.
Oh,
Because
okay, sir.
if you look at these sentence patterns, they all begin with
A
the subject. Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir. I just realized. Thank you.
By the way, what about this one? Is this a sentence?
Yes.
Is this a sentence?
Yes.
It is, correct. It is a sentence. What kind of sentence is this?
Imperative.
It's an imperative sentence, correct. It's a command. And what is the sentence pattern? Sir, there's no subject there. There is a subject in the sentence. We just cannot see it. We are just not shown of the subject. But what is the subject here?
You.
You, correct. Now, tell me, what is the sentence pattern? Two sentence patterns have been given so far. One of them is an answer to this. What's the sentence pattern?
Subject plus
Subject plus
intransitive verb.
Again?
Transitive verb.
Subject
SIV.
plus
SIV, correct. Because this is as good as you leave. Subject, verb. Intransitive verb. We just omitted you because this is on its own a sentence telling you to go somewhere else, and that is to leave. Can I erase this? Any questions so far regarding sentence patterns? Look at how interesting this lesson is. Any confusion? Reaction of April. When I was in third year high school, we had a major exam given by our English teacher. In this part of the test, I really excelled. For some reason, since third year high school, I have really learned to find my way out on the lesson on sentence patterns. Any question? Now I'll proceed to the third sentence pattern, and that is TV. This time, Shania, I think we can now see a contrast between the transitive verb and the intransitive verb. more now into understanding what makes a verb intransitive and what makes it transitive. Once again, the letter S, we know what it means. It represents the subject of the sentence. Let's look at this expression, the TV, known as we call this your transitive verb. A transitive verb requires a direct object. Take note, it requires a direct object for that verb to help the sentence exist or stand. Without a direct object, that sentence may come out to be incomplete. This brings us to the direct object. Now, our attention will be shifted into the direct object. What is a direct object? The direct object comes out as the receiver of the transitive verb. Commonly, your transitive verb and your direct object should go together. Your direct object even answers questions like what, or who, or whom. If you manage to answer these questions, most probably what you'll have is a direct object. Take note, what I used is most probably, because the complement also answers questions what and who. If you look at the example, if you write the example, my name is Sim, if you wrote that down, you look at the word Sim, my name is what? What's the answer? Sim. See, the answer to the question what can also be found or can also be traced to our complement. But the clear difference here is, in the SLVC, remember those two arrows that refer back to each other arrows? We cannot do that here. In this sentence pattern, your subject cannot be the direct object, nor can the direct object be the subject. They don't have that relationship. Let's try having sentences. Can I erase this so that I can provide a sentence on the board? Okay. For example, black. So you have this sentence. I hope it's clear. The man stole my bag. What's the subject in the sentence? It's the word man. What's the verb? Stole. The man stole what? What's the answer to the question what? It's the bag. Since it answers the question what, we could possibly call it a complement or a direct object. But to eliminate the complement option, let's consider, can that man be the bag? Obviously not. Can that bag be the man? For sure, the answer is no. So the complement option is now eliminated. And we are reminded, there is another component that could answer the question what, and that's the direct object. The bag is the receiver of the act of stealing. What object received the act of being stolen? That is the bag. That's why we call it the receiver of the transitive verb. Or the DO sometimes, or in some references, they call the DO the receiver of the action. If we have a direct object, we will have a verb which we shall call a transitive one. What is the a transitive verb? Shania, see the difference now between a transitive and an intransitive verb? Try to end your sentence with stole. The man stole. Does it sound complete?
No.
It does not. That's why it's a transitive verb. That's why it requires a direct object. And again, let's remind ourselves, people, direct objects are not limited only to single word expressions. For example, can I erase this? Can I?
Yes, sir.
Black. I hope it's clear. My father wanted to talk to my teacher. What is the subject in this sentence? I'd like to ask Nikki.
My father.
Father, correct. It's our subject. What is our verb here, Krisha?
I talk.
Sorry?
Talk.
Is it talk? Take note, you look at the verb, you look at carefully what the verb is.
Wanted to talk.
Wanted, correct. Sir, what about talk? Talk is part of an infinitive to talk. Infinitives are not verbs. Though they show actions, they are not verbs. They take on a different function in a sentence. Now, let's go back to questions that could be answered by a transitive, by a direct object. My father wanted what? What is it that my father wanted? What's the answer, April?
To talk to my teacher.
To talk to my teacher. Take note, all of this answered the question, what? So how do we classify this, Erwin?
You called me, sir.
Again?
Did you ask me?
Yes, yes. Since this part answered the question what, how will we call it?
Direct object.
It's the direct object, correct. And once again, if you have a direct object, that means your verb is a transitive verb. Sentence pattern, S, TV, DO. Tomorrow, no, not tomorrow, on Thursday, we will have the two other sentence patterns, which are extensions of the STVDO sentence pattern, the STVIODO and the STVDOOC. After which, we will proceed into checking the activities found in your module, primarily FT1. Because the task of FT1 is for you to identify the sentence pattern that lies behind each statement. Any questions so far? Any question, grade 9? Are you sure? How do you find the writings on the board? I hope they all appear clear. Anyway, I'll see later on in the recording if my handwriting, if the sentences have appeared clear, so I can do something about it in the remaining days that we have for grammar discussions. Definitely we'll be maximizing this because again, you might have noticed I cannot do this much in the chat box. I feel like I can do more the proper labeling with a board. Again, any question? If there's none, see you on Thursday for STBIODO and STBDOOC. That'll be all for this afternoon. Goodbye and thank you, grade 9.
Goodbye.
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 Bye,
And
and thank you, sir.
sir.